This Korean romantic movie interweaves two love stories set in different periods, the 1960s and 2003. In 2003, Ji-hee, a studious university student, is busy packing up her books. Memories from her childhood come flooding back, particularly one of a magnificent rainbow in the sky. Her mother used to tell her that rainbows are the windows to heaven. However, Ji-hee's father has passed away, and her mother is currently abroad. As Ji-hee continues her task, she accidentally kicks a guy during a taekwondo match, causing his nose to bleed. While packing, Ji-hee stumbles upon a box filled with letters and exchanges between her parents. These letters always bring tears to her mother's eyes when she reads them. Intrigued, Ji-hee starts reading the letters one by one, unraveling the story of her parents' first love. However, her attention is momentarily diverted by a phone call. As the wind blows, the letters scatter, and the pages of the journals flip uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Ji-hee finds herself developing a crush on Seungmin. However, she soon learns that Soo-jung also has feelings for him. Soo-jung asks Ji-hee to send an email to Seungmin on her behalf. Ji-hee obliges and attends one of Seungmin's theater plays, where she becomes captivated by his performance and the skillful direction of the play. Eventually, Soo-jung introduces Ji-hee to Seungmin, and Ji-hee realizes that many women are attracted to him because of his adorable nature. Returning to the other room, Ji-hee discovers her mother's letters in a mess, having been messed up by pigeons that flew into the room. After shooing the pigeons away, she collects the letters once more. As she reads through them, Ji-hee comes to a startling realization. The letters are not from her father, Tae-soo, but from Junha. Ji-hee continues reading the letters but finds the romantic content cringe-worthy since they are from decades ago. She then discovers Ju-hee's diary and finds a photo in the middle. Suddenly, the movie transports back to 30 years ago. The boy in the photo is Junha, and Ju-hee bears a striking resemblance to Ji-hee. They are in high school together. Junha and Tae-soo are best friends, and Junha often writes letters on Tae-soo's behalf. However, Tae-soo is suddenly engaged to someone his parents have arranged for him. Ju-hee shows Junha a photo of Ji-hee, revealing that she is the daughter of a prominent congressman from the countryside in Korea. Junha and his friends are fishing for bugs in the river when a carriage passes by, with Ju-hee on it. Junha stops and stares at Ju-hee, waving at her. Ji-hee waves back, and they all wave happily at her. Ju-hee approaches them, and Junha asks if they want the beetle they just took out from a cow's dung. Ji-hee hesitantly holds it, finding it disgusting. Ju-hee asks Junha to take her to the river and requests to meet him there the next day to learn rowing. Junha excitedly agrees, and his friends playfully rub cow dung on each other while Junha eagerly asks them to teach him rowing. Junha eagerly waits for Ju-hee by the boat, assisting her as she carefully gets inside. Ju-hee reveals that she had wanted to go to the river earlier, but her strict grandfather forbade her from going anywhere. She explains that she can't ask anyone to take her there since they would surely report it to her grandfather. Ju-hee curiously wonders why the boat isn't moving, and Junha sheepishly admits that it's his first time rowing. They haven't ventured far from the riverbank. As they continue their outing, they take the opportunity to introduce themselves properly and engage in conversation, getting to know each other better. Junha briefly muses that their meeting might be a twist of fate, but quickly dismisses the idea, leaving Ju-hee intrigued. After their boating adventure, they decide to take a leisurely walk and stumble upon a dilapidated house along the way. Ju-hee's curiosity gets the better of her as she asks Junha if there are ghosts inside. Junha playfully teases her, pretending to be a ghost himself and remarking that he sees one every day in the mirror. Ju-hee, however, fails to find the humor in it and just scratches her head in response. Suddenly, Ju-hee falls to her knees, and someone passes by behind them, creating uncertainty about whether it's a ghost or a human. Intrigued and cautious, they venture forward to investigate and cautiously enter the house. Junha opens the door but quickly retreats, frightened. Undeterred, Ju-hee presses on, exploring the interior. Eventually, a bearded man appears, causing Ju-hee to scream and run away, mimicking Junha's earlier reaction. The atmosphere lightens as Junha and Jai playfully scream at each other, and even the hermit joins in the playful screaming, creating a lighthearted moment amidst the eerie setting. As luck would have it, they find themselves caught in a sudden downpour. Realizing their boat is too far to reach, they seek shelter in a nearby shed, patiently waiting for the rain to subside. Junha, ever the gentleman, offers Ju-hee his shirt to dry herself. They discuss their plan to return to the river if the rain eventually stops. When the rain finally does cease, Junha gets a watermelon, and they joyfully share it, indulging in a makeshift feast together while a radiant rainbow graces the sky as their backdrop. However, their journey back becomes challenging as Ju-hee sprains her ankle. Without hesitation, Junha piggybacks her, ensuring her safe passage despite the darkness that has fallen upon them. Despite the late hour, they find solace and enchantment in the amazing glow of fireflies illuminating the surrounding trees. Junha playfully attempts to catch one of the mesmerizing insects, and they both marvel at the magical display. Eventually, Junha succeeds in capturing a firefly and presents it to Ju-hee, who is overcome with awe as she delicately opens her hands to admire its luminous glow. At the riverbank, a gathering of people anxiously awaits Juhi's return. Grateful for Junha's kindness in carrying her and the captured firefly, Juhi presents him with a necklace as a token of appreciation. Junha gratefully accepts the gift, wearing the necklace around his neck. However, upon their return, Junha received a hard slap from Juhi's very stern grandfather. Despite that, he is still very happy with his time with Juhi. In the days that follow, Juhi catches a cold and falls ill, requiring medical attention. Eventually, it was decided that she should be taken to a larger hospital in Seoul for better care. News reaches Junha that Juhi has returned, and he hears of her improved state of well-being, bringing him some solace. Returning to 1968, Juhi is seen happily engrossed in reading the letters. She goes about her daily routine, attending school and studying in the library, all the while secretly perusing her mother's diary and discovering more about her parents' past. In the meantime, back to Junha and Tisu, it is evident that time has taken its toll as Tisu is now bald. He eagerly awaits the arrival of the letter Junha wrote for Juhi. Tisu expresses his deep appreciation for the heartfelt words and unconventionally shows his gratitude by playing a song using his fart, much to Junha's surprise. Their mischievous behavior earns them a reprimand, reminding them to be more serious in the library setting. Suddenly, Tisu lets out a scream, causing a commotion as he anxiously calls out for Junha. His outburst is due to receiving an invitation of some sort. The invitation is for an orchestra performance, and all of them attend the event. Juhi takes the stage, captivating everyone with her skillful piano performance of a classical piece by Beethoven. Her graceful playing leaves the audience in awe. After the performance, Junha eagerly waits for Juhi outside while she receives flowers from various individuals, acknowledging her talent. Junha also has flowers in hand, but he hesitates to give them to her. Finding a spot on a nearby bench, he waits patiently as Juhi rushes back into the auditorium, searching for him. Finally, their eyes meet, and Junha's face lights up with joy. They run towards each other, their paths colliding in a heartwarming reunion. As Junha and Juhi lock gazes, he presents her with the flowers, which she accepts with gratitude. Juhi expresses her thanks, and Junha extends his heartfelt congratulations for her outstanding performance. Concerned about her previous ankle injury and cold, Junha shows his genuine worry for her well-being, to which Juhi reassures him that she is all right. Junha admires her talent and expresses his appreciation. However, before they can share more moments together, Juhi informs Junha that she cannot stay for long and must leave. Just before departing, Juhi mentions that she still has the firefly, and it is still alive and well. Junha feels flattered by her words, so he dances while walking but accidentally stumbles, leading to laughter from the other girls present. But playful as he is, Junha takes it lightly. Meanwhile, in the future, Juhi continues to delve into her mother's diary, eager to uncover more about her parents' past. In the art gallery, Soojeong is hanging out with Seungmin, and Juhi can't help but feel a pang of jealousy as she watches them tour the museum together. Seungmin, however, looks at Juhi with fondness, and they engage in playful banter. The theater play brings a new dynamic as Soojeong leans in close to Seungmin, making him uncomfortable. Yet, they steal glances at each other throughout the performance. After the play, Juhi initially plans to leave, but Seungmin invites her to join their friends for dinner. Swayed by his request, she ultimately decides to stay and joins them at the dinner gathering. Seungmin takes a moment to call her aside and presents her with some gifts. However, Juhi's irritation grows as she observes Soojeong's behavior, and, feeling unsettled, she even switches the gifts. Curiosity gets the better of Juhi, and she shakes the gift, hearing a faint squeaking sound. Finally, she opens it and discovers a keychain with a note attached. Reading the note, she becomes captivated by its contents and proceeds to read the accompanying prose. Soojeong's insistence on obtaining the gift only further irritates Juhi, fueling her suspicion that there may be unspoken feelings between Seungmin and Soojeong. Filled with doubt, Juhi decides to distance herself from Seungmin. Shifting back to 30 years ago, Juhi is repulsed by the mention of collecting manure, a task assigned to the boys. The unpleasantness of the subject nearly causes her to become physically ill. While on their usual running rounds, Tisu shares the news with Juhi and Junha that they will be meeting at a folk dance event. Oblivious to the fact that Juhi and Junha are already acquainted, Tisu suggests that they attend so he can find someone to date. Juhi is taken aback by the revelation that Junha and Tisu are best friends. Juhi introduces Nahe to the group, and they all come together to prepare for the upcoming folk dance. Across the room, Juhi whispers to Junha, expressing her longing for him, and Junha reciprocates the sentiment. Throughout the dance preparations, they steal glances at each other, their connection growing stronger. Finally, as the dance begins, Juhi and Junha find themselves partnering up, engaging in conversation while Tisu dances alone. Tisu, known for his free-spirited and playful nature, defies the strict dance rules, switching to a popular song. The atmosphere transforms as everyone abandons the traditional folk dance, embracing the joyous spirit of a hippie shake. Joohee and Junha dance together, accompanied by Tissue, and the four of them revel in the exhilarating dance. After the dance, Joohee walks alongside Junha, and it becomes evident that Na-hee is interested in Junha, attempting to impress him with her words and actions. Eventually, they part ways as Tissue kindly offers to drop off Joohee. Meanwhile, Junha finds himself accompanying Na-hee on the way home, enduring her continuous recitation of tongue twisters. However, Junha cleverly allows her to continue while he stealthily slips away, vanishing from her line of sight. Reuniting with Joohee, Junha's heart fills with joy, and they wholeheartedly embrace each other. Just like her mother, Joohee possesses a talent for classical music and skillfully plays the violin. However, upon arriving at her practice session, she discovers that it has already concluded. Nonetheless, Joohee proceeds to fulfill her plan by handing the poetic card to Sujeong as intended. As the rain begins to fall, Joohee seeks refuge under a nearby tree, and unexpectedly spots Seungmin heading in the same direction. Although Joohee initially tries to quietly slip away from him, Seungmin greets her warmly. In a thoughtful gesture, Seungmin removes his jacket and uses it as an improvised umbrella, inviting Joohee to join him. Together, they run through the rain, their laughter filling the air, aiming to reach the shelter of the next building. Joohee can't help but feel surprised and intrigued by the unexpected encounter with Seungmin once again. During the drills, Tissue expresses his frustration over Joohee's lack of response to his advances. Overwhelmed by his emotions, he confesses his feelings to her and collapses under the scorching sun. Determined to convey his affection, Tissue pays a visit to Joohee at her home, bearing a bouquet. Once again, he pours his heart out, confessing his love and tenderly kissing her forehead before nervously retreating, only to faint once more. Unaware that Joohee and Junha are already in a relationship, Tissue remains hopeful in his pursuit. Junha, eager to express his affection for Joohee, attempts to kiss her, but she gently declines, instead resting her head on Junha's shoulder. Joohee confides in Junha about her dilemma with Tissue. Junha suggests writing to Tissue as a way to address the situation. As Junha tries to lean in for another kiss, Joohee reveals the reality of her betrothal to Tissue, explaining that there seems to be no way to prevent it. Despite the circumstances, Junha maintains an optimistic outlook, believing that things will eventually fall into place. However, Joohee firmly asserts her decision to distance herself not only from Junha but also from Tissue, and anyone else involved. During the drills, Tissue endures the wrath of their senior leader, who reprimands him for his refusal to bow. Suffering through a series of 19 strikes on his back, Tissue withstands the pain before finally falling unconscious. Thoughts of Joohee consume his mind as he ponders her apparent disinterest despite his grand gestures of flowers and kisses. Overwhelmed, Joohee finds solace in tears, her gaze fixated on the firefly, uncertain about the path she should take. When morning arrives, a note lies on the ground, catching her attention. Simultaneously, Joohee uncovers the same note, reading the exact words Seungmin had written on the card. Meanwhile, Junha waits diligently outside the gates of the girls' high school, rain pouring down upon him. Determined not to let their relationship end, Junha pursues Joohee as she flees into the rain. In a gesture of love, Junha catches up to her, offering her the umbrella and urging her to stay. However, Joohee remains steadfast in her decision to break up. Eventually, after a period of separation, Joohee returns, and Junha presents her with the letter. Tissue declares that he can no longer serve as the messenger for Junha's letters, as he intends to confess his feelings and mend the fractured relationship. In the hospital, Joohee's health falters once again, triggered by the incessant rain. Word reaches Junha, prompting him to pay her a visit, guided by Tissue's information. Deep in conversation, they discuss the peculiar behavior exhibited by Tissue, yet refrain from explicitly acknowledging the letters that Junha had ghostwritten for him. Unexpectedly, the entry of Tissue's father and the doctor disrupts their exchange. Junha, taken aback, attempts to make a swift exit, feigning a wrong turn as he claims to have mistakenly entered the room, despite having been in the restroom. Awkwardly, Junha bids his farewell, leaving the room behind. Junha asks Tissue to hit him, but Tissue refuses. Junha then confesses his feelings for Joohee and reveals that Joohee gave him the necklace. Tissue faints once again. Before losing consciousness, he tells Junha not to worry and to make sure that Tissue's father doesn't see the necklace because it was a gift from Junha's family. During the school break, they are unable to see each other but continue to communicate through letters. Tissue finally admits that Junha was the one writing the letters, not him. However, Joohee forgives him and decides to keep the letters instead. Tissue suggests putting his name instead of Junha's on the letters so that Joohee's parents will believe that they are from Tissue. They continue to exchange letters during the winter break and express their love for each other. Yearning to reunite with Junha, Joohee musters the courage to dispatch another telegram to him. However, fate intervenes as one of Junha's heartfelt letters is intercepted and erroneously delivered to Tissue's abode. Unwittingly, Tissue's parents stumble upon the correspondence, which reveals Joohee's profound affection for Junha. The truth dawns upon them, leading to the realization that Joohee's heart belongs elsewhere. Seizing the moment, Tissue skillfully persuades his parents that he no longer holds any romantic feelings for Joohee, advocating for Junha and Joohee's union instead. Nevertheless, such defiance against his family's expectations exacts a severe toll on Tisu, subjecting him to the brutalities of his father's wrath. With vehement emphasis, Tisu's father underscores the imperative of Tisu marrying Juhi, underscoring her stature as the daughter of a prominent congressman. Mocking Tisu's apparent inability to secure a suitable match, he mercilessly belittles him as a disgrace to their lineage. At home, Juhi's parents also discover the letters exchanged between Juhi and Junha. Juhi and Tisu meet again at school, where Tisu shows Juhi the belt he was hit with. He explains that while he was being beaten, he managed to grab hold of it. Tisu then harms and Junha tries to intervene and save him. Tisu is eventually rescued and survives. However, the situation deeply affects Juhi, and she finds it difficult to bear seeing Tisu in such a state. Junha tries to comfort her but eventually decides to leave Juhi to prevent causing her further pain. He leaves, leaving behind the necklace as well. Juhi becomes extremely saddened by his departure and attempts to chase after him, but he has already gone. During a parade outside, Juhi is unable to locate Junha. This takes place during the Korean War, and many Korean men are joining the Vietnam War. Juhi discovers that Junha has enlisted in the military and has been sent to Vietnam. In 2003, Juhi speaks with the convenience store owner about the umbrella that Seungmin gave her. The owner reveals that on that rainy day, Seungmin gave his umbrella to the store owner because she didn't have one. However, Seungmin had seen Juhi running towards the tree for shelter and purposely left the umbrella there for her. Juhi is deeply moved by Seungmin's kindness and decides to take the umbrella back to him. She excitedly runs under the rain, disregarding her drenched state, to return the umbrella to Seungmin. Seungmin is at the gallery again when Juhi appears, completely wet. Seungmin asks why she is soaked, and Juhi explains that she is returning the umbrella to someone else. Emotionally, she gives the umbrella to him, but Seungmin stops her from leaving. Seungmin then asks if she already knows his feelings toward her. He reveals that he left the umbrella for her because he saw her that day and wanted to join her. During the play, he intended to give her the gift with the card as a way of confessing his feelings. Soojeong is in the hospital and asks Seungmin if he loves her. Seungmin responds that there is only one person he loves, but Soojeong kisses him. However, it turns out to be part of a theater play, and Soojeong goes off script by using Seungmin's real name instead of his character's name. Behind the curtains, Soojeong confesses her feelings, but Seungmin rejects her advances. Soojeong becomes desperate for Seungmin, but he already has feelings for Juhi, so he refuses her. They slap each other behind the curtains, but the audience believes it to be part of the performance and gives them a round of applause. Seungmin and Juhi travel to Suwon, where Juhi's mother's hometown is. A local passerby mistakes Jae for Juhi due to their striking resemblance. It turns out that the old man had been delivering numerous letters for Juhi. Jae now knows the truth about her parents. In the 1970s, there were numerous student demonstrations and protests against the dictatorship. Juhi was one of the activists involved. Gunfire and tear gas filled the air, causing chaos and prompting everyone to scatter. Amidst the chaos, Juhi and Tisu accidentally collide, and Tisu places toothpaste under Juhi's eye to relieve the effects of the tear gas. Juhi and Tisu find themselves by the river, now college students. Years later, Tisu and Juhi reunite. Juhi still remembers Junha and inquires about him. Meanwhile, soldiers return from the Vietnam War, including Junha. Juhi passes by Junha, but he avoids looking at her through the window. Juhi knocks, hoping to connect with Junha, but he cannot face her and tries to ignore her. Juhi cries and tells him to come back alive. Despite Junha's reluctance, he also cries. As the military train departs, Junha finally faces Juhi while Jae and Tisu run to catch the train. Juhi removes her necklace and gives it to Junha. Although it pains him greatly, Junha puts the necklace back on. Junha fights in a war that is being lost, witnessing the deaths of many soldiers, including his friends. The enemy forces strike hard as their army faces defeat. Junha attempts to save his comrade but arrives too late. He is pulled away to retreat before the bombs are unleashed. Choppers arrive to evacuate the Korean army, and they begin retreating. However, Junha realizes that his necklace is missing and goes back to retrieve it. Amidst the ongoing battle, he fights against the enemy forces and returns to his fallen comrade to retrieve the necklace from his comrade's lifeless hand. While carrying his wounded comrade, Junha is struck by an explosion. Despite his injuries, he continues to reach for Juhi's necklace. The other soldiers are waiting, but another explosive hits Junha and the other soldier, leaving their fate unknown. The two soldiers lie on the ground, with Junha's hand still attempting to grasp Juhi's necklace. Many years later, Juhi and Junha reunite as proper adults. Junha is overjoyed to see her, and Juhi comments on how much he has aged. Juhi asks about Tisu, and Junha informs her that he is doing well. Juhi questions why they didn't get married, but Junha reveals that he did get married, which surprises and shocks Juhi, although she had already heard about it. They have an emotional reunion. However, Juhi notices something is amiss with Junha when he mentions a piano doll but doesn't look in the right direction. It becomes clear that Junha has lost his eyesight and is now blind. Juhi is devastated by this revelation, while Junha remains positive, pretending that his eyesight is fine. Joohee breaks down in tears and asks Junha how she looks now. Junha, unaware of her tears, tells her that she looks better and happier, not realizing she is crying. Eventually, Junha realizes that Joohee has already realized the truth. Panicking, Junha attempts to leave but stumbles over the chairs due to his blindness. Joohee rushes to his side, crying as well. Junha apologizes, revealing that he had been practicing the previous night to pretend everything was fine because he didn't want Joohee to worry. He returns the necklace to her, the same necklace he risked his life for. However, Joohee insists that it belongs to Junha and places it back around his neck. Junha tenderly caresses her face and wipes away her tears. Later on, the same teardrops appear in Joohee's eyes during her wedding to Tisu. Joohee gets married and 3 years later gives birth to Jihee. A few years after that, Joohee returns to Suwon by the river when Jihee is still young. An older Joohee is approached by Junha's comrades, who bring her an urn containing his ashes. Junha had asked Joohee to scatter his ashes along the river. They also reveal that Junha got married right after Joohee did, contradicting his earlier lie. Junha had a son of his own. The news devastates Joohee, realizing that Junha had already passed away, and that he hadn't married before her. It breaks her heart. Junha had also left something for her, a box of letters and journals that Jihee later reads. The men go to the river and scatter Junha's ashes. Meanwhile, a younger Jihee happily catches bugs and spots a rainbow. Jihee recalls the memory of that rainbow she once saw. After Jihee finishes telling her story, Seungmin is sobbing. He removes the necklace from around his neck, revealing that he is Junha's only son. Seungmin places the necklace around Jihee's neck, returning it to Joohee's daughter. Just like their parents, they go to the river and witness the fireflies. Seungmin catches a firefly and, following in his father's footsteps, passes it to Jihee. They share a kiss, thus completing the circle as Junha's son and Joohee's daughter fall in love.